Okay, this deposition of Lieutenant Jorge Cruz is being conducted remotely via Zoom. Today's date is September 30th, 2022. The time is approximately 11:05 a.m. Oh, wait a minute. Let me record. Okay.
Recording in progress.
Sorry. Lieutenant, what city are you located?
Oh, he went on mute.
You're muted. Okay. I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Now I can. And what city are you located?
City of Homestead.
Thank you. The witness is located in Homestead, Florida. My name is Sylvia Evans. I'm located in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I'm administering the oath and reporting this deposition remotely. I have already seen the witness's identification. Would counsel please state your appearance for the record and express your stipulation that the deposition and oath may take place remotely?
Dr. James Eric McDonough, I'm the pro se plaintiff, and I agree to the stipulation.
Sam Zeskind of Weiss Serota Helfman for the defendant, City of Homestead, and the witness, and stipulate as well.
Thank you. Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Hello, sir. Before we get started, can I get your full name?
It's Jorge Enrique Cruz.
Excellent, thank you. Before we get started, I'll just give you a couple quick instructions. Have you ever been deposed before?
Yes, I have.
Great. This should be pretty easy. I hope it should be about an hour, maybe a little bit less. If you don't hear or understand any of my questions, please ask me to repeat it, and I'll be happy to do so. And please do not answer a question you don't understand, and please allow me to finish my question before you answer. If you need to take a break at any time, please let me know, and we can pause the deposition. Do you understand these instructions, sir?
I do, sir.
Great, great. All right. Are you currently employed as a police officer?
Yes, I am.
And how long have you been a police officer?
My history with the City of Homestead started in 2006 as a civilian. I became a reserve. I don't remember now if it was 2009 or 2010. I became a full-time officer in 2011. I became a detective in 2013. I became a sergeant in 2015. And I became a lieutenant in 2018.
Well, you just answered a whole lot of questions. So
I was trying to beat you to the punch.
We're going to get this quicker. So the current rank you hold is lieutenant?
That is correct, sir.
Okay. And all right, so let me see. You've got to answer that question. And you haven't worked as a police officer anywhere else?
No, I have not.
Okay. And what's your current assignment and duties?
I'm currently assigned lieutenant to the midnight shift. Basically the shift supervisor of the midnight shift. Uniform patrol.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Uniform patrol.
Uniform, thank you.
Okay. And how long have you had these duties?
I believe I was assigned to uniform patrol in March of 2021.
Okay. And was there a time that you were assigned to the traffic unit?
Yes, I was.
And were you in the traffic unit in February of 2021?
Yes, I was.
Can you summarize any training that you may have received related to traffic crash investigations?
Traffic crash investigator, it's basically three courses that you take to become a traffic homicide investigator. I've done those three. I've done traffic crash investigations, pedestrians, motorcyclists. I've also gotten training along the DUI track, things along that nature.
And any traffic homicide training?
Yes, I have.
Okay. And what responsibilities did you have in the traffic unit?
Responsibilities was to oversee the entire operations of the traffic unit, which included motors, included any type of traffic homicide investigations. It also included checking all reports from the entire department that dealt with traffic crashes, dealing with any issues that might arise from citations and things of that nature, as well as other extraneous duties.
And what's your educational background, sir?
I'm currently in the middle of getting my master's degree.
Oh, good, great job. I'm a big fan of education. I spent about 10 years in university myself, so I'm a good old college Joe. Can you describe your area of expertise relating to computer networks?
Oh, sure. I have associates in science, and associates in arts, and a bachelor's degree. They're all in information technology. I used to hold a Cisco certification, a CCNA, back when I ran the IT department, or I worked in the IT department at Homestead Police Department.
Okay, so you're a tech guy.
More or less. I'm a little rusty, but yes.
You're one of the smart people that I have to call when I have problems with my computer. I appreciate all of the work you guys do. Are you familiar with the process necessary to remove crash data from a vehicle?
I am familiar with it.
Can you explain that process, sir?
I've never received any official training in regards to it, but the long and short of it is I have a computer software on a computer, and basically you have cables that connect to the data box, and you download that data using the software, and you will get a report of everything that is in that box.
Can you get information from the box, or are there any other boxes you can get information from without a vehicle being involved in a crash?
Objection form. You can answer.
You can always make an attempt to download data from any vehicle.
Okay. Are you familiar with an accident occurring during a high-speed pursuit in the early morning hours of February 13th, 2021?
I am.
Are you aware that 3 teenagers died in that crash?
I am aware.
What was your involvement in this accident, if you recall, sir?
My involvement, can you be a little bit more specific?
Did you have any involvement in the crash or that accident?
I was overseeing the unit at the time, so I was aware of the incident, and I was involved in the incident while I was there, but I was only there for, I'm going to say, about 3 weeks before I got reassigned to uniform patrol.
Okay. Did you prepare any paperwork or reports related to this crash?
No, I did not.
Did you review any of the paperwork or reports submitted in this case?
At the time that I was there, we were in the preliminary stages, so no final report was authored at that point.
Okay. And I'm trying to understand how this works a little bit. I understand there's an accident, you show up, and then different things happen over time. New information comes in, data's ran, analysis, things come back from labs. When new information comes in, are there supplemental reports, or how does that get put into the record?
Objection to form.
You can answer, if you can.
A case like this is not as simple and cut and dry as a normal uniform patrol officer's report. For a case, as a comparison, an officer goes to a location, responds to a call, collects the information, writes an offense incident report, and documents it. The officer goes back, new information is provided, they write a supplemental report. The way you would do a traffic homicide case file is a little bit different. The officer that's doing the investigation, and this varies from officer to officer, starts collecting the information and starts putting it in a case file. Typically, as a supervisor of the unit, the only time I would get the case file is when the officer or the traffic investigator completes the actual report and submits it to me. So there is a process. So yes, information is added to the file, but not in the same way a normal patrol officer does an actual OI/supplement report. It's a little bit different because they create a case file. It's kind of almost old school in the sense that it's not truly electronic from start to finish.
Okay, and so as new information comes in, supplemental reports are added to the case file. Is that roughly how that works?
Objection form. You can answer, Lieutenant, if.
Okay.
If you understood
You're using the words supplemental, and in this type of investigation, it could be just case notes that goes into the file. So we could be saying the same thing but using different terminology.
That makes sense, and I'm glad you pointed that out. So when I say supplemental, I'm not necessarily stating that it says supplemental on the paperwork. It's just as new information comes in, that goes into supplement the case file, and just keep everything together. Would that be correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay. I'd like to direct your attention to the confession of Pablo Gutierrez. Captain Dijon wrote a supplemental report on October 12, 2021, almost 8 months after the chase, stating that he heard Pablo Gutierrez confess to his involvement in the crash. According to Captain Dijon, this confession occurred at the crash scene. Captain Dijon further stated that he was not a participant in that interview and he was only a witness to the confession. My questions are, do you recall there being a confession being submitted by the investigators, or a record of a confession being submitted by the investigators?
Objection to form. To the extent you know whether or not there's a record, you can answer the question. To the extent the question goes beyond that into the incident itself or the investigation into the incident, then I'm going to instruct the witness not to answer. That's not relevant to whether or not records exist. And there is a pending criminal investigation. There's also been notices of intent to file claims in civil lawsuits against the city, which are open and pending. There are interested parties, both the state attorney's office, the defendant in the criminal case, and those potential plaintiffs that all have interest in any testimony regarding the investigation. So, Lieutenant, don't discuss anything regarding the investigation or the incident, but to the extent you're aware of whether or not there's a record, you can answer that question.
I'm not aware of any record.
Okay. Lieutenant, in this case, would you agree that the only person alive who could speak to the happenings in the vehicle during the chase and the subsequent crash is Pablo Gutierrez?
Same objection. It's not relevant, and we're not answering questions here today regarding
it is relevant, Mr. Zeskind, and unless it's privileged, I expect that the witness will answer the question.
The witness, just to make this clear, the witness will not be answering questions regarding the accident itself or the investigation into that accident. The witness will be answering questions about whether or not there are records that exist that have or have not been turned over to plaintiff in response to the 2 public records requests that are the subject of the complaint.
Mr. Zeskind, I understand what your position is, and this deposition is not limited to just that. There's more than just, are there records left? Are records, were they illegally withheld? Why were they possibly illegally withheld? Any of that is relevant. I have claims to that, sir. And I mean, we can bring this back in front of Judge Rodriguez if you want. I don't think it went good for you last time. If you want to try that, I'm more than happy to do that.
Sure. Here's the situation. Sure, you can, to the extent the questions are relevant to any of the exemptions that have been claimed, or
no exemptions have been claimed, sir. Or, I'm sorry. Based on what I'm looking at, there have not been any exemptions that have been claimed that I am aware of.
Well, in this case, there certainly have. This is the case with the videos, Marcy's Law exemption. That there certainly have been exemptions claimed in response to records that have been produced to you in response to your subject public records request. You can ask questions that are relevant to the public records issues. This case is not about what happened in that accident, what caused that accident, or the investigation.
Mr. Zeskine, I appreciate your nice, long-winded speaking objections, which are improper. So you can object, and we can move forward and not sit here for 4 hours. This will be a quick deposition if we just go forward. If you are you instructing the witness not to answer my question? That's all we need to get here.
He is instructed not to answer the question regarding the investigation or the accident itself.
Sylvia, could you certify the
There
question?
will be. I just add one more thing. There will be a time and place where those questions are relevant. There's criminal proceedings and eventual civil proceedings where those questions will be asked and answered. This is not the proper venue for that. Going forward, if you ask those same questions, I'll just note the same objection and instruct them not to answer. I don't need to put everything on the record over and over again, but I did want to make a clear record about the basis of the city's position. There are parties that are interested in those questions and aren't here, and should have a right to be.
This is my public records case. This is all going public. You know that, Mr. Zeskine, so they can see whatever they want. And if they have other cases and they want to take any other depositions later, they're more than welcome to do that. Just because a question that I ask might be asked in another case does not prevent me or prejudice me from being able to ask the question.
Sure, but it does have to be relevant.
I understand. And you know relevancy is a speaking objection,
evidence.
and you know that speaking objections are absolutely not proper and absolutely is never supposed to happen in a deposition.
I will complete my objection, and then you can move on. So your discovery still has to be limited to information that is relevant or likely to result in the discovery of admissible evidence.
Questions I understand the rules of discovery, Mr. Zeskine.
And so he will not be answering it.
And these are reasonably calculated to lead to the discovery of admissible material. All right, let me see if I can ask this another way. Lieutenant Cruz, I'm sorry about that, Lieutenant Cruz. Me and Mr. Zeskine tend to get off on the wrong foot sometimes. It has nothing to do with you. Are you aware of anybody that would be aware of what happened inside that car during the chase other than Pablo Gutierrez?
Same objection.
All right. We'll certify the question, Sylvia. Lieutenant Cruz, is it unreasonable to expect investigators to document the interview of the only person alive in the aftermath of a high-speed chase where 3 young teens were killed?
Same objection.
You can answer the question.
No, he can't. He's being instructed not to answer.
I'm trying to
determine
if there's records or if there should be records. This is absolutely relevant to the deposition, Mr. Zeskine.
So you can ask him if there's a record, but you can't ask him about the process, whether there should be or whether anything was done a certain way. You can ask him if there's a record or not. That's acceptable. I'm not going to instruct him not to answer the question about whether or not there's a record.
Can you certify the question, Sylvia? I think you might have already answered this in another response, but Lieutenant Cruz, did you write any reports or supplements related to this crash?
No, I did not.
Okay. Have you shared any information with others as part of your involvement in this investigation during or afterwards? And this would include emails, texts, phone calls, instant message, etc.?
Not that I recall, no.
Okay. And if you don't recall, that's absolutely fine, Mr. Cruz. I only want you answering from what you know. If you don't know or you don't recall, that's absolutely fine. Did you ask or did you ask or receive any assistance from others in this case?
Objection to form.
You can answer the question.
I did reach out to the county at one point to assist.
Okay, thank you. Lieutenant, are you familiar with a vehicle crash data reporter?
I have not received any official training in regards to that, but I am familiar with the concept.
To the best of your ability, can you describe the functionality, basically what data is stored, when you can retrieve it, and how it's retrieved?
I can answer that, but I preference that with that I have not received any official training, so I wouldn't be considered an expert.
That's fine.
Normally during a crash, basically the black box does a recording of data input. The data input is everything from percentage of the accelerator, percentage of the brake, the angle of the steering wheel, things of that nature. And from what I understand, as we expand with technology, you start gathering more and more data, which allows you to basically figure out what was happening with the vehicle at the time of the crash and then right before the crash. As an example, maybe 3 seconds out, 5 seconds out, things of that nature.
And that just makes it much more easier and accurate, I assume, to be able to reconstruct the accident and how everything happened, where in the past we used to measure skid marks and all that. I'm assuming it just makes it easier. Would that be correct?
You still do the measurements, and you still do the skid marks, and you still collect all that data. Think of it as like a math problem. If you do your investigation correctly, the data is going to give you you're going to come to the same conclusion, plus or minus a small variation to some of the data that the box is going to give you.
So it helps corroborate that other data and the calculations.
That is correct.
Okay, I appreciate that. Did you or one of your investigators retrieve the data from the vehicle in this case?
From which vehicle?
The vehicle that crashed into the canal.
Yes.
And you had Miami-Dade assist with that?
That is correct.
Was it you that contacted Miami-Dade PD for the assistance here?
I reached out to the supervisor. I don't recall his name at the moment, but I did reach out to them.
Would that have been through phone or email? Do you remember?
Phone.
Phone. And would there be a record of that if you're aware? Let me rephrase this. Not necessarily of the phone call, but the fact that Miami-Dade was involved. Somehow or another there was a record. Would there be a record that Miami-Dade came and ran the box, or you took the data to them, or however that worked out?
Section to form.
Can you? I'm sorry. I'm trying to understand exactly what you're asking.
Yeah.
Can you rephrase that for me, please?
Yeah. Let me try to say this a different way. So you reached out to Miami-Dade to help retrieve the data from the black box. Would there be any record in Homestead Police Department, to your knowledge, or should there be any record that would show that Miami-Dade Police Department was contacted and Miami-Dade Police Department assisted?
It should have been documented at some point. I know Miami-Dade pulled a case number. The way it works when we do things like that, they pull a case number and they cross-reference our case, and then we would get that case number and cross-reference that case. But again, I never got to see the final file, so I don't know where that would be in the file.
That makes sense. I really appreciate that, Lieutenant, because that helps clarify a little bit. So there's one accident. Homestead's involved. Homestead has a case number. Miami-Dade becomes involved, and they have a case number. The two case numbers between the two different departments are separate, but each department cross-references the other one's case number. Is that roughly what we're saying?
Under normal circumstances, yes.
Okay. And Mr. Cruz, it's not on you, but this is Mr. Zeskine. Mr. Zeskine, if Homestead has any records of the Miami-Dade police number or this, if you could get your clients to get them to me. We're not sure they exist, but if they do exist, then they have been unlawfully withheld here.
I believe that that case number was already searched as part of what was been produced to you, but we can certainly do that again and
Okay,
look.
because I haven't seen that. The only place I see any, Miami-Dade police number is from the CDR report itself.
Right, I believe that my understanding is that that's the record that that has that case number, but per your request, we can go back and look.
Well, it seems funny that, we would have this 56-page PDF report and there would be no other documents related to that or showing that that exists, because you do recall that was unlawfully withheld from me. And that was the seventh set of documents you get, seventh set of documents you gave me after you came and told the judge that all records have been given to me.
Document done. If you have questions for the witness, you can continue your deposition. There's no place for argument here regarding that. I
understand. I'm just trying to help you.
I've heard your request. I've heard your request, and I've let you know that I'll pass it along to the city.
Do you know if Miami-Dade traffic homicide opened an official case, Lieutenant Cruz?
Not while I was upstairs.
Okay. To your knowledge, were any other agencies involved in this investigation?
Not while I was involved.
Okay. And I think you've probably already answered this, but I have it in my list of questions. Other than reading the crash data reporter, did Miami-Dade PD provide any other assistance or have any other involvement in this case to your knowledge?
Not while I was upstairs.
Did you receive the crash data report yourself?
I was present when it was downloaded, but it went straight to traffic investigator Robeson.
Okay. And again, you didn't write a report detailing any of this?
No.
Okay. So near the beginning of the deposition, you stated that you are currently assigned to uniform patrol. What was this investigation? So this investigation was open and pending when you left the unit. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry. Stay with me here for a second. You've been so great at answering questions that you've answered a lot of my questions beforehand. I'm trying to cross them out and make sure. I don't want to double them up on you or anything. You've been really great. Did you request the transfer? Did you request to be transferred from traffic to uniform patrol?
Objection to form, an objection to relevance. Ask him not to answer. I don't think it's relevant at all to this case.
And I'm assuming the answer is going to be no, but when you left the unit, you didn't submit a report of the status of the investigation. Is that correct?
That is correct.
But you did transfer from one unit to the other unit in the middle of this investigation, or while the investigation was pending?
I was transferred about, couldn't have been more than 3 weeks. I mean, I'd have to look at the exact date of transfer, but it was about 2 to 3 weeks.
The exact date's not important. You said it was in March, and I know the accident happened in February, and this was a long, ongoing investigation for months. So we agree that you transferred while the investigation was open and pending.
That's correct.
Do you remember who told you that you were being transferred from traffic?
Same objection as before.
There was a video made the morning of the accident by a news agency, and it showed a lot of officers around and taking measurements and all that. One thing that kept sticking out to me is it seemed that a lot of people kept looking at the front side of Sergeant Ryan Khawly's car. Are you aware of any collision between Sergeant Ryan's colleague's car and any other object during the pursuit?
Same objection as before.
Did you pull any data from Sergeant Ryan Khawly's car?
No.
No? Okay. Do you believe that your skills are best suited for the duty and position that you currently serve in?
Same objection as before.
Do you know who the current captain overseeing the traffic homicide investigation is?
The captain in charge of the division?
That would be over in charge of any traffic homicide investigations.
Well, it's kind of a, you're asking a question, there's not, can you clarify? Because what you're asking and the way it's designed
Are two different things. I understand. Is there a captain over top of the traffic unit? Or there multiple?
There is a captain that's overseeing the overseeing, not directly involved. With our chain of command and our structure, we have the captain that's in charge of the unit, but he's not directly involved in day-to-day operations. Are you asking, is there a captain in charge of day-to-day operations?
No, I was just seeing if there was a captain who oversees traffic, not necessarily involved in every little detail.
Yes, there is.
And who is that captain? Do you know?
That is Captain Rodriguez.
Yanko Rodriguez?
That is correct.
And do you recall if he was the captain over traffic when this accident occurred?
He was my immediate supervisor at the time.
Okay. Do you know if the pursuit policy was followed in this incident?
Same objection as before. Witness won't be answering that.
Do you think that you getting transferred had anything to do with your involvement in this investigation, sir?
Same objection as before. Witness won't be answering.
Sylvia, all these questions they refuse to answer, can we certify them? Is there any conflict of interest that you're aware of in this investigation, sir?
Same objection as before. Witness won't be answering.
Do you know what nepotism is?
Same objection as before.
Was there any nepotism involved in this investigation?
Same objection.
Has nepotism, to your knowledge, in any way infected this investigation?
Same objection.
So please continue to certify these, and I would like to note that these are absolutely relevant to the claims of my lawsuit, so I will be bringing those back in front of the Honorable Judge Rodriguez. Do you think nepotism or conflicts of interest could have affected the city's response to my public records request?
I'm not aware of all the intricacies of your public records request, so I don't have all the facts to be able to answer that question.
Okay, that's fair enough. So your assignment was transferred out of traffic and into patrol after you contacted Miami-Dade Police Department, is that correct?
Yes.
Do you feel that nepotism or conflicts of interest have compromised the investigation into this crash?
Same objection.
You can certify that as well, Sylvia. That's all the questions I have, Mr. Cruz, Lieutenant Cruz. Sorry. I really appreciate your time. I thank you for your service to our community, and thank you for keeping us safe. Please know none of this was against you at all. I'm just trying to find out what records are left because the city has unlawfully withheld the records, and other people have claimed records exist when they did not, including Mr. Zeskind. So we're just trying to get to the bottom of this. Again, I thank you for your time, and you have a blessed day, sir.
Move to strike that soliloquy from the conclusion of the deposition. Lieutenant will read.
Okay.
You're free to go. Have a great weekend, sir.
Thank you.
Recording
Sylvia.
stopped.